fireworks survey. I'll turn it to the manager to tee this up.
Yeah, this matter comes before council as a result of an increasing number of letters that the city's been getting from people concerned about fireworks displays, both private and public. The concern relates to the impact of fireworks on people with disabilities, certain disabilities, and animals, etc. We've determined that it is an issue throughout the country. As noted in the memo provided to council by the communications officer, there are some places in the province putting it up to plebiscite this spring on whether to have them. So currently, I believe it's our fire prevention bylaw would suggest that there is no fireworks, no private, and I think that probably existed in the bylaw before they started selling private fireworks in the city of Miramichiers. That's how long it's been there. No hesitation to say it is currently and has in the past not been enforced. So the question is, does council at the end of the day wish to amend the provisions of that bylaw? So to that effect, the communications officer scanned some other communities and has come up with a survey that she's proposing would go out to the public. She's here tonight to answer any questions. I believe the survey has been included in the package, and if council has any questions, comments, she's here to answer them. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Manager. So I guess we'll open the floor to Councillor Harris.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just, I know the manager's numerous letters. I only saw one letter. I just don't know how many letters we
Well,
got.
I think in the last couple of years we've got them off and on.
Okay.
It just seems to be it's more prevalent, and maybe it's safer to say that the letters have been supplemented by ongoing traffic on social media on the subject as well.
Okay. Next question. After this came out, I guess I did Google it, probably like everyone else, and see what cities and across from Ontario over to Halifax, I guess, Ottawa, and a few other cities. The issue is always how to enforce this. Like, to put this out, and like, how would you enforce this? I don't even know. And most cities say they cannot enforce it. It is their bylaw, but they have no way to enforce it.
The challenge has been by the time you get a report of somebody setting off fireworks and get to the scene, they may very well not be there. That's the problem. I know in some cities they've tried to curtail it by the sale of those within their municipalities, which is not necessarily going to fix the problem, but if there's a change, we are not professing that necessarily there be zero fireworks, but we would hope that people would generally respect the wishes of the public as put forward through a council bylaw. And my understanding is the impact on without notice, and that was some of the complaints, is the not knowing when it was going to take place. So the public ones, everybody tends to know there's going to be a fireworks display on Canada Day, and they can, take measures if they're in those areas. The problem, as you say, is the spontaneous ones that go up 2 yards down and are gone, and somebody shot their $100 worth of fireworks in 45 seconds, and you can't really tell who's doing them. But in spite of the challenge, we still think it's worth trying to see what the desires of the population is.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Manager. I also see there, like, I know in Ottawa, I'll say, in Halifax, I do believe, they do allow fireworks, public fireworks for Victoria Day, Canada Day, and you're allowed to buy fireworks 7 days prior, 7 days after. So there is different avenues to look at, because at the end of the day, I think right now, as a Canadian, we want to make sure we celebrate Canada Day to the best of our ability, and I think it's important to make sure, maybe in the survey, is there certain holidays that, public fireworks can be used, or to see what people are saying. I mean, that is in other cities right now. So just something to look at maybe when we're doing it. I thank Gail for the survey. I went through it. Looks good. And hey, to have a survey and see what comes back for some data is always good information. So appreciate that.
Thanks, Councillor Harris. Councillor Arsenault.
Thank you. Yeah, glad to see the survey going out. To be honest with you, really, I'm interested to get a sense of how the community feels about it. It's really easy to get caught up in the social media outrage at times, and so to actually, I guess get the feedback on that specific issue. You know, I don't have a grand desire to ban anyone from celebrating anything, but you know, if there's some reasonable parameters that we can put around it, understanding, of course, that there's some challenge in enforcing it. But really, to be honest with you, I'm just actually looking forward to that engagement with the community to get a sense of you know, is this even on people's minds besides the social media outrage, as I said, and the few letters that we've gotten over the last couple of years. So thanks to our communications officer for that. Looking forward to the data.
Thanks, Councillor Arsenault. Just speaking from the chair, I guess admittedly it's not an item I have particularly strong feelings on either way. And as the manager noted, we've received a few letters in the last couple of years, but you know, I guess I'll look forward to seeing the public engagement play out and getting those results and you know, proceeding with a plan or not moving forward. I guess the one thing I would acknowledge that's admittedly new to me tonight is if we already have a bylaw on the books that says that you can't use them, if we determine in the end that we will allow that, we should adjust the bylaw so we're in line with our own, our actions are in line with our bylaw no matter what, where it ends up going. So I'll stay open-minded to what the public's opinions are on this, and I'd also just acknowledge or note, you know, we have lots of things that come across our desks, and many of those things are priorities for us, building our plans and our long-term future, and some of them come to us like this one. So I guess that's kind of my way of saying this isn't a huge priority for me either way. So we'll get the public feedback and, you know, end up having, I think, a path forward. That's good business. We've been asked to do that, but not at the expense of any of our priority files at any given night. So that's all from me on that one. Also have an item on the committee of the whole agenda as well, but first it's the fireworks survey results. Is that to Mr. Manager or to Madam Harding? Yes. Okay. Over to you, Ms. Harding.
Thank you, Your Worship. You've been provided a copy of a breakdown of the survey and a memo and some comments that were, I provided a sampling of some comments, but as you can see from the results, 87%, the majority do want to still have fireworks in the city. There are concerns. A lot of people are looking for maybe some bit of education on them as well. You know, some people, 73% disagree the fireworks were disruptive to the community. 87% agreed fireworks bring people together. Many agreed fireworks were a benefit. I said that before, but 99% had never made a complaint about fireworks in the city. 1% had. 36 supported adding new regulations. 27% opposed it, and 37% were neither in support or opposition. 48% support providing more education of using fireworks safely, while 21% opposed it. 42% supported having vendors require more education to sell fireworks. 69% were opposed to the complete ban on the sale of fireworks, and 66% were opposed to the complete ban of private or household fireworks to improve firework safety. 20% were in support. So we had 1,068 surveys, so it was great engagement, and we actually, you know, I guess got them, and I guess got what we were looking for, and so now it's up to council to decide what to do with this going forward.
Yep, Councillor Arsenault.
Thank you. I'm glad to see the results, whatever they were going to be. You know, and sometimes the question is just the question. right? And you know, every now and again we do get a complaint, and sometimes it's important to figure out if an issue is just your algorithm popping back up at you on social media and seeming a whole lot bigger than it is, and sometimes it is actually bigger than it is. So really glad to get the results, glad to get the feedback. In this case, that was really just what I wanted. We had received a complaint and I wanted to find out what the community was thinking about it. It was as basic as that. Some of the comments were that, it was a secret attempt for us to take away fun. Really not the intention, truly just wanting to gauge and also interact a bit with the community on some issues. So glad to get the results. I have no further thoughts or concerns about moving it at this point. I love the piece about education as a suggestion for fireworks safety, especially privately owned ones, but that's my own feeling on it. Leave it to the rest of council.
Thanks, Councillor Arsenault. Councillor King?
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks, Gail, for the survey. Great job. And the most problems with the fireworks is in the dry season, especially when homeowners are letting them off. Sometimes they do it just on different occasions, somebody's anniversary or something like that. I think there's where the problem is, but the fireworks for the people, it brings people together when the ones we have inside the city. So I'll vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question for the communications officer, not specific to fireworks, but I guess to the survey process itself. Like, is it correct that we had 1,068 respondents to this survey? And I see you saying yes, and then also does the process allow us to have certainty that those are unique individuals, or that maybe somebody put in 100 different ones themselves?
We asked for the postal code, and that's about all we can go by.
So we don't know that they're unique individuals.
No, we don't. But by the different answers and the different comments, I am making the assumption that they were all individual.
Okay. I mean, okay, thank you. I guess it's hard. Assumptions are not facts. I say that often, so I want to be fair and consistent. I guess my observation is, I can't believe the level of engagement on the topic of fireworks. This is more people than I think have ever responded to any one of our other public engagements we've ever done, including many items or long-term plans that, from my perspective, are much more substantive to the future of the city and the direction of what we do. So I'm just going to hope that that the community is incredibly engaged, and that this might be the new normal in terms of the level of engagement on any and all other engagements moving forward. Otherwise, wow, I just didn't realize people were so passionate about fireworks. Yeah, Councillor Placey.
Just on the engagement piece, do we have, are we able to, communicate back to the folks that did the survey? We have email addresses or something like that?
I'll have to double check on that, but my plan is to post the survey on the website so people can see the results.
Right. I just, my thought is around, again, this isn't the most, in my opinion, the most critical thing that we're dealing with, but I think as an exercise of closing that loop on that engagement, those folks obviously were passionate about getting their opinion. It'd be nice to be able to somehow close the loop and be like, you are the 1,000 most passionate people about this issue. It's going forward or not going forward or whatever it is, but it'd be cool if we could close that loop in the future. But I think great engagement. I think it's catching on. Tools are working. And fireworks don't seem to be the biggest issue. I did have a question, though, for the fire chief in the room. Is this something that, I know we are constantly monitoring, fire bans, right, the province puts out. So would fireworks fall into that same, so if we're in red and there's a fire ban across the province, is that fireworks as well, and is there enforcement around that?
To Councillor DeClacy through the chair. Yes, it would include fireworks, usually includes things like lanterns and tiki torches, coal or wood-fired barbecues, things like that, so.
Perhaps maybe this is an opportunity to kind of reinforce some of that education, just given the excitement and the interest, coming into burn season and the 250-year anniversary of the Great Miramichi Fire. I think, we're aware of the destruction, so I'll leave that.
Deputy Mayor Quinn?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I too share the shock here of your Worship on the level of engagement here. So my question is to you, and I probably should know the answer to this. This came through Miramichi.org or Engage Miramichi or Facebook, or where was the access point here?
It was through the website, Miramichi.org. It was a jot form survey. That's the software that we're using.
Okay. I guess, would that not be something we would put on Engage Membership as well, or? Again, I just find that that's an underutilized tool in the toolbox for whatever reason.
We haven't been using Engage Miramichi as much as maybe we should. The last few surveys we did do with Engage Miramichi, we had very low engagement. We seem to be having more results using the tools with the new website, the jot form surveys.
Okay, fair answer. Maybe it's time we look at Engagement Machine, what that offers us, I guess, in the longer play here, but for now, I'll retire.
Thank you. I'd like to personally invite the 1,068 Miramichiers who took part in a survey about fireworks to also give their input on the growth plan that we're going to be doing this year, which will impact the long-term development of the community for the next 20 years. I'd love to see 1,068 or more citizens responding to that one as well. Mr. Manager.
I'd just like to speak to a moment at where it goes from here. Any regulations, rules, permissions, et cetera, required around fireworks are generally set out in fire prevention bylaws. I'm pretty sure our fire prevention bylaw that hasn't been looked at for quite a while forbids fireworks privately, and obviously that is not something we've been actively enforcing. As part of the POMAX report, one of the duties of the fire chief is to revise the bylaws, and so I believe the next step would be when that bylaw comes forward for review, there would be recommendations from the chief on how to deal with this. It's obviously effective. It's not a plebiscite, but I'm sure the contents will be taken note of. But council will get to formally bless or not bless what's being requested here by way of a bylaw adoption, probably in the coming months. So that's where it'll formally show up in terms of what do you want to do in light of this survey. And there's really nothing to vote on tonight. It's a tool for the fire chief to use and for council to use when they're making their decisions and recommendations.
Thanks, Mr. Manager. I just would, go ahead, Councilor Summers.
Sorry to interrupt, just a footnote on I understand where you're coming from with the numbers and whether or not they're skewed or not, Mr. Mayor, but I believe you mentioned that assumptions are not facts, but the biggest number that jumped off the page to me was that 99% of the respondents have never registered a complaint with the city of Miramichi, so pretty hard to argue with that, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, I mean, I just would love the certainty of knowing, but I certainly, again, I'll take it as a good sign, the number of participants. I just wanted to close the loop on what the manager is saying. I think, unless a member of council would want to make a motion in the other direction, there's no expediency required here. And given the motions we just passed, the chief will have an entire work plan now to be working through based on the POMAX report. So I would only just roll this in due course as it impacts the mandate we've just given you through the motions on the POMAX report. So I don't want to see any special prioritizing of fireworks. Let's get to the meat of the work that we now have a mandate for you on. Regarding the report itself, and then this can be worked into that as required. And just, I should have said this on the last meeting, but I'll take a berth here to do this. I'm just noting now in the public package regarding the POMAX motion, we received the POMAX report, but we do not have the chief's action item table is not part of what's being made public, and I did understand that we were making the chief's action item table public as well. Yeah. No, the table from the POMAX report is in the POMAX report, but the chief's supplemental action item table is not in this package. So I just would like to make sure that that does go public as well. Yeah, his action item table with the action items, the description, and the timelines, the dates, because I do think that that's important to show the public, as that is what we adopted tonight, and that's our commitment, and the chief's mandate to work through that. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so that's the only public item on this agenda. We have one other item in committee of the whole, so I'm going to ask for a motion to move to committee of the whole, please. Deputy Mayor Quinn, seconded by Councillor Arsenault on the question.